Hello indie game fans, ever since the early access release of Factorio, factory builder and automation games have become a subgenre of their own, with developers using all sorts of themes, perspectives, and even adding new mechanics and ideas to the mix. So here's a look at upcoming titles, a number of which have confirmed release dates in 2024, such as Lifecraft, one that sees you starting off as a single-cell organism which eventually evolves, grows, and survives. Yes, it's a biology-themed title, so you're going back to high school in this game, so if you know the difference between mitochondria, ribosomes, lysosomes, ATP, the nucleus and more, then you might have an advantage, although I'm sure that the game will have its own tutorial for those of us that are not as biologically inclined. Still, it's a colourful and vibrant title and looks nice as compared to the browns that this genre is known for, and might be a modern edutainment title going by another name. Here's the cheekily named Snacktorio, which, as the title proposes, is a factory builder title in which you're making food. Interestingly, this is a side-scrolling platformer instead of a top-down title, so you do need to consider things like gravity and how to transport ingredients. Also, it's not just any customer that you're serving, but unspeakable horrors which might just attack your base, so there's tension here and it's not just a sandbox title, looking to be one of the more interesting upcoming games. I am quite impressed with the developer of Potion Pipeline, since Milkbag Games previously made the Christmassy crafting title Center Craft, as well as a very underrated auto-runner platformer named Future Grind, and they have somehow turned their attention to a factory builder this time around. Of course, you're brewing various potions on an industrial scale in order to fulfill orders from the guild, and looks to have the usual upgrade and progression systems, and where a wizard running a factory is an interesting thought. I've been following this developer for a little while since Automation Station looks awesome, and while we don't have a trailer just yet for this game, trust me, you want to wishlist this game at the very least. You play as an adorable looking robot, exploring a mysterious planet, having to automate the gathering of resources in order to unlock new technology and to build machines so that you can explore further. The gifts of this game indicate that there is physics simulation, adding a new dimension to this kind of game. A more classic-looking isometric title is Dawn Apart, a game that does have an interesting art style and more ambitious ideas. For example, the environment is fully destructible, so you can shape it to your will, and where you can either play as the corporation of greedy fortune hunters seeking to exploit the planet and its resources, or the natives that are fighting back. This adds in colony sim elements, so you have engineers, mercenaries and civilians to manage on top of the automation, so let's see if they will manage to blend the two. This next title is going at a different speed, since Hostile Mars is a factory builder set on the Red Planet, but interestingly has more of a focus on combat, in which you're building out and reinforcing your base in order to fend off waves of enemies. However, automating the resource gathering and crafting is still essential, since you need the materials to build automatic turrets, walls, traps and more, since the enemies do really come in swarms and are of a large number. In between waves of enemies, you are free to explore the planet, which will hide its share of secrets, with the third-person action being very different for this genre. here's another side-scrolling entry that looks awesome in AutoForge, a pixel art title that kind of looks like Terraria, including more combat and exploration elements, but is an automation game through and through. You play as an abandoned golem that awakens from slumber, having to find out what happened to your creators by exploring the world. The usual gameplay loop involves first having to manually collect resources and then slowly building simple machines to process these, which eventually leads to gigantic automated setups. Crafting in this world takes time, so you need to master production lines and automation, with it having a sprawling sandbox world which should be procedurally generated and where you will eventually be able to unlock new areas and biomes as well. The planet has an automated defense system that protects it from you, so it will send drones to wreck your so there's an almost tower defense-like aspect to the game as well. Like most factory builders, this will be an early access release, but it has been in development since 2019, so here's hoping there's enough content when it releases in March. You might not notice at first glance what this game is, since Shapes 2 is the sequel to a game released in 2020, which has an ultra-minimalist visual style, in which the sequel takes it into full 3D and is now in space. The original has you using conveyor belts to produce unique shapes of every colour and shape from constituent parts, and it looks like the sequel is the same, but the addition of a third dimension certainly opens up possibilities. For example, you can see multi-level conveyors in this trailer, where the setting of floating factories in space literally means that your layouts can be built without limits. It's of course not the most realistic, but essentially looks like a mega factory simulator, so if you're a fan of the original, I'm sure that you'll be excited about this, and if you have not played it, you can try the demo directly in your browser at shapes.io. This next title has a lot of competition since Foundry follows in the footsteps of first-person factory builder titles like Satisfactory and Tectonica, which are very popular, in which the challenge lies in whether or not they can differentiate themselves. For one, you're playing as robots and seems to be focused on co-op, with the developer also talking about having to build both a conveyor belt and pipe network, so they're treating different resources differently. There's an almost Minecraft-like feel to the game, since it is a voxel title in which the environment is made up of blocks, so mining them out will result in these familiar looking areas, but has a much more high fidelity look to everything else. This game has been picked up by Paradox Publishing, so given that they specialize in strategy games, I'm sure that they must have seen something in this game. This next title is not a full game, but rather an expansion, and is of note since Factorial was the game that blew up this subgenre, which is why the Space Age expansion is of note. As of August 2023, the developers mentioned that it should release in about a year, and have shown off a teaser video for it, in which this is factory building in space, with arms grabbing resources that float by, and where you have thrusters to move your platform floating through space. The expansion is a direct continuation of the base game, in which you need to send multiple rockets to space, since they will transport materials to build the space platform, which can then go to new planets. They are targeting 4 predefined planets, so no procedural generation here. And come on, this is the godfather of the genre, so of course I'm looking forward to this. For regular city builder titles, watch this video for 25 upcoming games.